Flake Rose and Spears, and we are Supremely Black, dropping content that matters. How y'all doing this week, fellas?
It's your big kinfolk, Jay Flake, man. Everything is wonderful. Can't complain at all. Everything wonderful. Family still doing good, man. And hey, been a productive week. You know what I'm saying? Took a day off from work yesterday. Thought I was gonna relax, but that ain't happened. Forgot it was Valentine's Day before I took it off. I was doing a bunch of ripping and running around, but it's all good, man. Everything's all good though.
That's what y'all call it now, ripping and running. That's the new slang for 2022. Hey, man, hey, it's all good, man. But yeah, this D Rose, man. Everything good. I really can't complain. Got some good news in regards to some stuff that I'm gonna be able to do with the nonprofit. But just working, getting everything taken care of. No complaints. Everybody's still here, so that's a blessing in itself. How everything going on your end, Spirit?
My end is good. Everything on my end is good. Just blessed, highly favored. Just working on some stuff. Like you said, the news that you shared with the nonprofit, that's all good and everything. So just ready to get stuff rolling and keep progressing with everything that's going on in life. So everything's a blessing. Unlike Flake, I didn't get no ripping and running yesterday, so I ain't getting none of that action. So,
Little R&R, little ripping and running. That's all good, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, this completely random, bro. But I think I didn't officially turned into Houstonian, man. I didn't got hooked on crawfish, bro. I'm eating it at least once a week now.
Oh man.
No, I'm definitely not sucking no head. We can go and get that out the way right now. Yeah, definitely not what it is. Hey, but that crawfish fat, dog. Yeah, I didn't get hooked.
Had that, man. They said sucking the head the best part.
Oh, well,
that's what they said. I don't know. I don't eat them, John.
Yeah, I never get to experience that, So, I don't eat.
Pause.
Pause. But nah. You want to go ahead and pop it out, Spirit, or what?
Yeah. So this week we're gonna talk about this documentary on Netflix going around called Crammed. And so it's I don't want to say enlightening, because some of the stuff we already know just from the culture, being in growing up in certain situations, adverse situations, being in certain communities, you know the back history or the backstory of, the crack epidemic, what happened in the early 70s, early 80s to the late 80s and everything, how that transpired up into the 90s and early 2000s, and the effects from the crack epidemic and everything. So they got a documentary on Netflix called Crammed. And so that's what we're gonna be talking about this week for this episode. My question to y'all is, what stood out most to y'all, or what
one thing for sure,
you learned that you did not know before, just from, during that time and was exposed to that type of environment?
One thing that stood out to me, because I was a youngin' as all this kind of process, is not knowing much about politics then, is that how long politicians just ran on like a 12-year-old run on crack alone and trying to prevent crack, which is crazy to me, because I mean, if you go back and look at it, it was just whoever was gonna stop crack, that was your way of running for president. You put out there, I'm gonna stop crack, we're gonna stop crack, we're gonna put an end to this. And it seemed like everybody was just voting for who could be able to stop this drug epidemic. Also one thing I noticed too that I didn't realize is how 45 just took the whole thing from Ronald Reagan, and when he ran and was able to win on that same concept. So I go back to an interview from a long time ago when 45 said, if I want to run for president, I'm gonna use this playbook. And I went back and seen that with Ronald Ross said, that boy wasn't lying. He used that same exact playbook and got into the White House. But the politics all behind it, I knew the government had something to do with, getting cocaine, on this side of the border and making sure it got over here for their own. but I just didn't realize, how these folks was, going for for senator and governor and president off just the whole crack epidemic.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy to hear because that's what caught my attention with the Reagan thing is when he was talking about make America great again and was stopping the about stopping crack. But what stood out to me the most is I didn't realize the impact or from how the docuseries broke it down was that how women were portrayed. Because I didn't realize like the songs that were made back in the day, your mama on crack, and how they really just made the Black woman look like they were just really just unfit mothers, just drug addicts, didn't care about their kids. The only thing that mattered to them was, government assistance or being a drug addict. And, I didn't get to live in that time and, grateful that I wasn't raised in that environment from a mother's perspective, but it's just like, damn, that kind of music I couldn't imagine, honestly. You feel me? It's like I didn't see it that way, but if that was, that's truthfully had to be somebody's reality. But what made entertainment come from us, just like the men rapping about the women not being nothing but crackheads, and that being the push behind music. It's kind of like the drill impact that it has now, killing, Black men or women or whoever. But it's crazy that music then was just as, belittling or shameful to even listen to as it was, back then, talking about a crack era, and especially with your Black women being the focal point. I don't know them songs, but that tripped me out. I actually had to watch that over again because I was like, damn, that's crazy how shit was then. And that was the hot tracks then, was talking about that. But that's what stood out the most to me. It caught my attention. What was yours, Spirit?
Oh, what really caught my attention that I really didn't know was that how lenient they were with cocaine and how that was an accepted thing in culture and community of upper echelon rich white folks and all of that stuff, Wall Street type people and everything, for them to be so easy with admitting that, oh yeah, I use this for work to, on the regular and do this all the time. It keeps me up, it helps me keep going and all of that stuff. They had a man on there talk about he was up for 3 days, 72 hours straight, no sleep, and just how comfortable they were with just saying that and not feeling like any consequences or repercussions will happen to them. And so that was something that really stood out to me, because I always thought until seeing this that there was a little negative connotation with cocaine still. I know that they was more lenient and, the charges and all of this stuff was, lesser, but I still thought it was something that, would get you hemmed up or, a slap on the wrist, a ticket, depending on who you is and who type stuff. But I never thought that or knew that it was just accepted and they was turning a blind eye or turning their heads to the use and the usage and the access to it in certain communities. But when it got to our communities, and again, we added our little flair to it because we had to make it accessible to us for us to get out of them adverse situations that we were living in, still to a certain point, they really wasn't caring at one point until, the politicians start putting that heat on it and start making it a play and a movement. And so that was something to me that I just freshly and newly learned that I didn't know before.
So when you think like one of the things that have popped up to me is just like, and this, this open, what do you think the push was? What made cocaine such a party drug, but then crack was, we got to get this off the streets. And like flake to flake point, it went on like a 12-year run to where you basically won president if you had the best, I'm going to stop cocaine dealers push. But in the meantime, everything around it is getting worse systematically. But is it just because you think it's the white people use cocaine, or was it you feel that it was a plan from the start to introduce crack to the hood to have this type of impact over a decade?
I think just back then, I don't even say it's a colorism thing with cocaine. I think it was really just if you had money, it was a party drug. The police and government felt like, hey, these people who got money, it's the upper echelon that's out here doing it. They're not causing no problems. They out here just getting money and partying. There's no big deal. I mean, we can take that all the way back to other party drugs back then that's getting people hemmed up today. But we'll leave that where it's at. But I think it was just a situation where cocaine was just lenient because it was one of those things that if you had money, you can do it. It was a party drug. It wasn't stopping nobody from working and things of that nature. Of course, you hit it, you up and just drinking water. And so it wasn't stopping anybody from going to work. It wasn't stopping anything. You wasn't having as much crime behind it because once again, it was people who had money that was able to buy it. So if you got money, you're not finna rob somebody else for it or, to be able to purchase it. You just go into your bank account because you working on Wall Street. You're a financial officer, you CFO, you working for the New York Times. Like all these type of people is people that was doing cocaine, which is crazy. And they just, kind of batted a bad eye to it. And of course, we'll get into a little bit later about the government and they hands that was placed into it as well.
Gotcha, I got you. What was your thoughts, Spirit?
For me, it was I remember in the documentary, it said that they really didn't even crack down on crack like that until that police officer died. So I'm wondering if that was really what amped it up and ramped it up for politicians to really make that move and to start making that as their campaign run and the thing that they was using to to push for them to get elected into office or whatnot. Because once that officer died from the use of okay, my bad about that, fellas. But yeah, so I don't think that they really was really cared about crack or the drugs, period, dealing with cocaine until the officer got murdered. And once the officer died from it, that's when they started doing the raids and everything with that. Because even as even when you're watching the documentary, it explains how the white people just popped up in the hood to purchase the crack and all this other stuff. And that was another thing that I didn't realize how prominent it was in that community and in that culture and environment and everything, how they would just pop up to the hood on a Friday and they'll be there the whole weekend trying to get some crack and everything. So I think that's really what got the politicians to start campaigning for it, got the police officers really, trying to, I guess, be stricter on it because you find out that they was the ones pushing it too. So, they was cracking down the hammer, but then also back out there putting it back on the streets and pushing it themselves for profit. So, I think it was just, the White House got concerned about it once that officer died and, they're gonna make an example out of somebody, and that 9 times out of 10, that somebody's us. So.
And I'm with you on that. And because I look at it, just to tie it into recent times or, today's drug of choice, a lot of people are, popping pills. And we've kind of talked about it, that fent hit the streets. And now all of a sudden it's not cool because you don't have just rappers talking about popping pills. It's actually hit the white community and the upper echelon white community. And so now you see billboards all across America. You see ads on TV. You hear presidents speaking about how to stop this opiate crisis. And it's, it's just reversed because I myself personally feel as if that this was something that was planted within our communities with this to come out. Now, I think cocaine was fun. I think crack was particularly targeting the inner city. And, kind of like to look at it how it is now. It's not serious until their people are starting to enjoy it or partake in it, then they start losing their lives, or their lives are impacted as severely as ours were with something that was planned. And when it starts to go against their agenda, that's when they intervene. So that's why I feel like they actually, one, placed it, but then they didn't think that their people would be coming across town to be smoking crack. You were supposed to have enough money to snort out and go on about your business. You know what I'm saying? But now that you got it, it's just like the opiate crisis now. We got to stop it. Like, but it wasn't no issue as long as Big Pharma was pushing it out to everybody else, or we was ODing. It ain't no different. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, them white folks was out there going get their little crack, but only last for so long. Cause at first it was business people, was just like cocaine. It was business people as well, smoke crack, find out that big high they was chasing. So of course they go to the party scene where the other people are that got money, and of course they gonna hit the scene also and see exactly what it's talking about. The craziest thing to me, I guess, growing up where I grew up at, it was plenty of white people I seen, buying crack and selling crack and being on crack. But the way they tried to hide it, I guess, to the rest of America, because I mean, back then I was younger, I wasn't really watching the news, on it just being a black issue, a black or Hispanic issue. Like I never seen it as that really, because I seen all type of white people in the hood buying it or walking the streets in the hood, and you wonder why that particular person is in the hood or whatnot, and you know what it is once you see them. So to me, I did never look at it just being a black issue. I know it was in the hood heavy. When you go to white folks' neighborhood, you didn't see it, but I knew white folks were coming and buying it and then leaving for sure. So it was crazy on how they just put on black people. Like Spirit said, once that officer got killed, I think that's how they just dumped it at being in a black neighborhood, because he got killed in a black neighborhood where the crack was being sold at. Once again, I don't know. I did research, and I know we sleep talked about it. I don't know who brought that seafood boil crack to the hood. Like, it's seafood boil cocaine. That's what it is. I don't know if it was the white people who cooked up. I don't know. I've been trying to find out, and it's just been back and forth on who was the first or who brought it to the hood like that.
We may never know that though. You feel me? We may never know
We
that.
may never know. I mean, we like to say it was black folks because we always cooking up something, so making it better than what it was.
I don't know what, allegedly, I don't know what made him drop it in that pot and hit it with that soda. So I don't
That's
know
crazy.
what.
No, but if you paid attention, and again, I'm not saying that he's the one who created it or even is the Renaissance.
First off,
I'm talking about Richard Pryor. Because if you watch it, they said Richard Pryor tried to smoke it in a pipe, and that's where you got the freebase from. But then he blew himself up and he caught on fire. And then so once the neuroscientist was like, once people realize that, you get a higher way, you get higher and try to do the freebase by taking out the whatever chemical is in cocaine, people wanted that. And then that's when people started trying to, get the freebase and, the crack rock. And so that's when it became a rock and people tried to do that. So I don't know. Again, I'm not going to say Richard Pryor is the one who.
Yeah, because folks was doing that before Richard Pryor caught himself on fire.
No, I'm not saying that people wasn't, but what I'm saying is because of his stature, that's what made it popular. And then so that's what made people be like, oh, okay, we could go ahead and cook this up and make this and, give people actually what they wanted, because instead of just putting Coke in there with a little bit of water and stuff and then lighting it in a pipe, we could actually cook it like that pre-made and then give it to our people. And so because, he was the most famous or one of the most famous Black people in that era and during that time, that's what gave people the idea, okay, we're going to start pushing it this way for our people.
Yeah, I wonder where he got that from. That's another key thing. Like, who was he around to take it to that level? That's a different level.
He was at all the rich parties.
He was at all the rich parties.
Yeah.
They probably was bored. Somebody probably was bored, just like they came up with the black man who invented potato chips. It dropped in their grease. Let that joke cook for a little while, pop back up like, oh, dang, we got us a tasty snack. Hey, don't tell them what they were bored doing. When you got money like that, and you partying all weekend, I wonder what would happen if I smoked this. And it's like, man, this a whole nother high.
Geeked up 3-4 days straight.
And he was probably high when he decided to do it in the first place.
Right.
Already tweaked. Like, can I get high? Yeah, I feel you though. I feel you. What was
Yeah,
the questions y'all had though? Thoughts or whatever?
Well, another thing that stood out to me was just how wicked poverty is and what poverty can make you do. Like the things that we did to our communities, how we terrorized our neighborhoods, our people and people, so we wouldn't want for anything. So we wouldn't be sharing hand-me-downs from our brothers, sisters, cousins, and walking around with holes in our shoes so we could keep the lights on for our parents and not sleeping with rodents and insects and bugs and things of that nature. So poverty is a hell of a drug. I'm gonna call poverty a drug because poverty will make you do some things and change who you are or question your character just to try to get out of a situation so you can provide for yourself and your people. And so that really opened my eyes because I always know poverty was bad, and I know people have different plights and different trials and tribulations and go do different things, but I didn't realize just how wicked poverty was and the things that it can make a good person do. Like there was kids in there who was my children age, and started hitting the streets and started becoming drug dealers and started doing this stuff so they could live a better life and so they wouldn't have to do this, and then end up being shot, going to jail, all of that stuff, murdering people and everything just because they wanted to be able to take care of themselves and their people. So poverty is wicked.
And that's a hell of a point, man, because I was just sitting there just thinking about it. I'm glad that like when we speak on these topics, we make sure that we at least as well versed and knowledgeable as possible as we, attack it from whatever angle. But literally, man, like every 10 to 20 years, there was something else different placed in our communities that we had to get over, like, racism, civil rights movement, Black Panthers, then you got drugs, then you got gangs, and it's just every 10, 20 years, it was just something that we had to get past. And, like you saying with the poverty shit, I feel like, it wasn't any winning. Yeah, you seen a couple people shining. You see your Freeway Rick Rosses. You see how they glorified Scarface even in it. And I think that played huge. And then you got the rap music. But at the end of the day, it wasn't no winning for us in it. Now, we all know people that were successful in their endeavors. We all know people that lost their life in trying to, living in the lifestyle that the cocaine or the drugs push. But when you think about it, man, really from my perspective, it wasn't no winning from that shit, dog. Like we fucked up to this day over there, dog. You know what I'm saying? Like even the 12 or 13-year-old to get out there and hustle that he could wear the J's and the expensive clothes, that's also somebody else's mama that was coming home or didn't come home because she strung out on dope. You know what I'm saying? So now that kid got to come out and give it to somebody else's mama just to get them out that predicament. But they mama's still out there, you feel me? So you got kids raising kids and kids killing kids. And, it's a whole lost generation of generations because that shit, just to be from a personal perspective, man, you get robbed of your childhood, man. Like there's parents that weren't in their kids' life, and that's the battle that they was dealing with was crack. And you hear people, and we listen to the music, so I'm people when I speak about it, but that shit real, bro. Like we all looked at it like, damn, looking back on it, it was just like, no bullshit. I dropped a couple tears thinking about that because I'm like, that directly impacted me and my people growing up. You feel me? And it's like, how could we ever would have thought that there was winning in it? Like, and it sounds crazy, but selling it to the other people that was already enjoying it, I would have been cool with. But robbing Peter to pay Paul, that's where we at now. It's because that same mentality is there. It's like, if I got to take from you to eat, I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? And but you look at the stages of how the progression is like, as we was trying to progress, here goes something else to get you. Here goes something else. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot, man. But yeah, it was real eye-opening, bro. It's like, damn, bro. Like we was just there, but they hit all the right distractions to pull us right back And boy. And then they started glorifying it to make it cool now. So it's like, some people was like, oh yeah, that's cool. I'm with that. That's what we on. But how? You know what I'm saying? Like, how's that progressive at all? It wasn't no winning, but that's what really got me. It was like every 10, 20 years, they had a new little agenda and it worked so perfect. Worked so perfect.
Like Spear said on a previous episode, this is another one of those bombs that the government handed out just in a different form. I mean, this was in chemical warfare this time around. And, we're going to introduce something that you guys couldn't previously afford. Now we're going to make it affordable. And now that is crack, we're going to let you destroy your own community. And it's two addictions. You got addiction to their drug, you got addiction to their fast money. And that's what happened when you taking people, and like Spirit said, in poverty, you taking somebody who's struggling to buy a pair of shoes, a t-shirt, and then like one guy said in the documentary, he said, man, look, I had a baby on the way. Man, I was young enough to remember the Calvin McDonald's commercial. They showed that. I was like, oh, y'all remember that. There go Calvin. Dave Chappelle got a skit about it. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, yeah, so I went and worked at McDonald's. Minimum wage was $3.75. He said, man, fuck Calvin, dog. He said, I ain't making no money. He said, $3.75 an hour. I got my check, the government taxed that. He said, I went out here and got this crack and I made $200 in an hour. He was like, man, I got a kid on the way. I need this money. I need another way to make this money. And when you get somebody who's already struggling and hurting and desperate, and then they go out there and make what some of these people was making in a week or 2 week paycheck in 3 or 4 days, why would I do anything else? Man, it's easy work. Easy work. I gotta do is stay on this corner all day. I ain't gotta run. I ain't gotta do nothing. Like the dude said, like he said, it was fun till it wasn't fun no more. And everybody was hype on it being fun because it was in the beginning, it wasn't harming nobody. It seemed like it wasn't harming nobody. People were still going to work. You still have functional crackheads until that drug took completely over. Then it wasn't fun no more. You start seeing how people started going down. People got greedy about the money. So of course, this neighborhood fighting this neighborhood, or somebody in the same neighborhood that wants your corners because they feel like you taking something out of their mouth when they could be making an extra $200 that week or whatnot. So it was a mess. It's crazy. And we still going through, like, we can still ride through some neighborhoods. There's still abandoned houses from the 70s and 80s from this situation right here, man. And the government didn't really care. Like you brought up earlier about the opioid. If they would have handled the opioid addiction like they handled crack, this probably could resolve a long time ago. But since they were saying it was destroying black neighborhoods and stuff like that, then they ain't really care. They ain't give a damn.
Nah, bro. Fentanyl was, man, listen. When
Fentanyl been out. It
it's
just
been out.
got popular.
You feel it just got popular. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
been out.
It became a thing, but when it was hitting the inner city, like I was saying, with the crack back then, it wasn't no issue. It's to them pills that they were prescribing the suburban communities with turned into an addiction to everybody. And then now, when them suburban kids then took their whole script and they come across town and get some, and they got a fake press pill, and then they kill them, and they didn't gave it to a couple of their homeboys that's up studying for tests. That's how they started carrying. It was not an issue when we know some of our partners that had died off a fake pill when it was in the hood. Everybody, we've been to what Fent was. You started hearing the rap music, then some of the new cats like, bro, man, we've been to what that was. This 10 years ago, Fent been out. It's been on the black market, you know what I'm saying? But to your point, they didn't care, bro. Like if it was just impacting us, that's what lets me know it's by design. I don't think we accidentally created crack. I think it was purposely intended for us, and it was a failed plan because they started coming to get it. They were saving money too. Like, hey, what you mean they got double ups? They can get 5, you get 10. You know what I'm saying? A little whammy. So that's just what it was, man. Yeah, definitely what it was.
As far as the opioid issue, I'll just say I still don't think they're trying to do much to fix it. I just want to say that they, I guess, put notice to the issue because it is a white people issue. But I still don't think that they really trying to do nothing to fix it, because when you mess with opioids, you mess with big pharma, and big pharma pay outside of defense. Big pharma probably the biggest money maker in the U.S.
For sure.
Outside of defense and everything. So yeah, I really don't think that they're trying to fix that issue. I just think that they bringing notice to it. It's kind of like kind of like the NFL doing with, social awareness, a PR thing, to cover their asses, but in all actuality, they okay with people dying, because at the end of the day, they say there's a cure for cancer.
Yeah.
They say Dr. Sebi cured AIDS, and we have to believe it because he went to Supreme Court and beat him. So we have to believe that he found a cure for AIDS. But again, they going around still saying there ain't no cure. So they don't care about bodies piling up. They don't care about them death tolls rising. What they care about is that money. As long as that bank account increase, they good with it. So
yeah, I get where you're going with that one. I just think it's depending on the handler and who they come in contact with or drop it off to. That's who getting flapped. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they bamming the ones that are getting it to these kids that should be getting a legit script. So if anything, they're trying to redirect it as, hey, don't buy it from just anybody, come to us, like you always have. Like, what makes you want to go get them at 12 o'clock at night or 1 o'clock? Go to your regular doctor, get prescribed, do your thing. That's what they want. So I get where you're coming from. They just they can't come out and say it, but they want to say, just go to the doctor, quit dealing with dope boys. You feel me? That's what they really want to say.
Well, I ain't even just talking about the stepped on ones though. I'm talking about the real opioids and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm not just talking about the stepped on ones and everything. So I understand, that one, of course, they always gonna try to make an example out of us. So like you said, if it's coming from our areas, if it's coming from us and it's stepped on or whatever, they gonna do their due diligence to find out who delivered this to you, where you got it from, where they connect from, how they got this and all this other stuff. But I'm just talking about the real opioids as well. Like, they're not really caring about them bodies piling up either, because again, at the end of the day, they need big pharma. Big pharma's in a lot of these politicians' pockets. They fund a lot of their stuff. They support a lot of things that they do. You tell big pharma no, you most likely probably not gonna get elected. So what you gotta do, you sleeping with the devil. So they don't care.
Yeah, I feel you though. Cause I was sure just like when I was telling somebody we was gonna be talking about this, and they had kind of connected it to what's going on with the opioids. I was like, if it wasn't for people like the fake ones, they not tripping, bro. Because at the end of the day, if there's real ones on the streets, that means we sold them to somebody. They're going to arrest any doctor to get caught bringing them up out of there. They're going to do everything to protect their investment. That's just what it is. The only thing that start happening is that a few people weren't supposed to be touching them. That's all it is. They can't control it. And once they can't control it, then they got to fake care about it on TV and use it part of their little script. But what was you about to say, Flake?
No, I was just sitting thinking, I was like, part of that is if they would have take this concern, and they might not be doing much to help the opioid, but one thing for sure they are doing is, hey, we catch you on opioids or something like that. Hey, little buddy, come on over here. Let's go to rehab. Let's take a look at you and see. They all open the doors for rehab facilities. Back then, man, if you was on that crack, man, they was taking folks straight to jail. They wasn't thinking about putting you in no rehab facility or nothing like that, or even trying to get you no type of help, or having an 800 number for your call website to help you deal with that type of addiction. Of course, when the websites back then. However, there was 800 and 900 numbers you can call to try to get help. They weren't trying to do that. And that was the craziest part to me about this whole thing. If you was a user and they knew you was a user, you was getting the same time as the dope dealer, which didn't make any sense to me. Like, the dope man get caught up, he going to jail 5 to 10 years. You a user, get caught with 1 or 2 rocks, and they know you a user. You stinking, you homeless, you like you ain't had no job. You look, you know for damn sure they ain't out here selling it. They getting 5 to 10 years. I'm like, this don't even make no sense. Mothers taking up out their home and they ain't even the dealer. They the user with their kids in there. You know, instead of reaching out to other family members, they putting their kids in the system and taking them straight to jail. Like that's the difference between that and how the opioids and even crystal meth at one point in time, how they was treating that, you know. It's just sad situation. That bomb the government dropped on us. And I keep saying the government because there's plenty of things out there pretty much pointing to how it got to the hood. You know, the Nicaraguan situation, the war and all that was going on. The simple fact that one thing, they boosted up this whole crack epidemic because they had an undercover cop, you know, call a dealer to sit in front of the White House and meet me here and sell me a couple of rocks. And then they took it right into the White House and said, yeah, it's even reached the White House. We got dope dealers out here selling drugs right in front of the White House. Police officer like, man, ain't nobody selling dope over here. Like half these folks live in DC don't even know where the White House is.
And that's what got me. That's what I knew it was bullshit. Cause I'm like, hold on, bro. You would never in history see another president having some dope in their hands, bro. Like, man, get out of here. Packaged up, see? You see this? I said, oh man, this is WWE, dog.
But
It's
then the
so
crazy
stupid.
thing about that is too, they went and caught the dope boy and then put him in jail.
Right, like, come on, dog. If that ain't the most planned, acted out script I've ever seen in my life. Like, who in their right mind as a dope boy is gonna be selling drugs right in front of the White House? Like, they'd rather sell dope in front of a police station before they be at the White House. Like, the White House, like, come on, man, get out of here. It's that bad. It's at the White House. So who's smoking dope in the White House? Let's talk about
Right.
that. You
What
feel
happened
me?
to that sack after he put it on TV? What happened to that sack? Somebody took that.
Somebody took
that job.
Yeah, that junk rocked up nice too. I'm like, oh, they put them, boy, they knew what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. But yeah,
And
that
the
was
crazy part, the undercover cop was like, he sitting at home like, man, that's the dope I just bought. Like, I just bought that. Why is this on TV? Like, I said, oh man, it's all a game. So they done called me to tell this man to meet me here. Man, ain't nobody saying ain't even no dope heads over there by the White House.
It's crazy. It's a cold world, but that's why Black economics is so important, and equity and equality is so important. But also, we do have to set up a structure and a system to combat the system and the structure that we are faced with daily. Because to both of y'all's point, it's always something new. But if we keep allowing them to hit us upside the head with a new thing and falling for the same little piece of candy and a joke every time, the joke on us every time, because we're always the one afflicted by the new whatever. And so we have to do better as a people and be smarter, but then we also have to fight for our economic right and independence so then therefore we don't have to worry about struggling and being impoverished and doing certain things, because we are trying to keep our lights on. We are trying to put a meal in our stomach after not eating for 3 or 4 days. We are trying to get pest control over here so we can get all these rats and roaches and stuff out of our house. We are trying to, make sure our loved ones get the medicine that they need to survive and live and all of this stuff. We are trying to make sure that, our kids can walk to school safely without having to worrying about getting hit by a stray bullet because of a drive-by or whatever the case may be. We have to do better as a people. And so I know shit's hard. I know we ain't giving a fair handshake, but we as a people got to do our part in making sure that we oppose the injustices, but also don't succumb to the bullshit that they try to throw our way.
Well said. Well said there.
Yeah, I would
Let me.
so go ahead, Flo.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so final question. So do you think this was just some random blow, or do you think that this was a planned attack on minority people? Or do you just think
It was a
that
planned attack.
okay,
The real Rick Ross tell you that. Real Rick Ross said I was buying keys from the government, and I was with him, and we was working together. It's playing. It's some other dealers out there that tell you I was getting mine from the government. That's why I was getting it. I was getting it from Nicaragua, from the government, even though I probably butchered how to say that country. But they were saying it's pretty much, and Freeway Ricky Ross is pretty much the only one that's big that spoke on it since he had so much money going through his hands at a period of time. But there's other dealers from back in that day that were saying this is where I was getting it from, straight up. And they was working with me together. They was letting me do it. I wasn't getting arrested. I was able to buy off cops. I was able to say one name, police leave me alone, this, that, and the other. So yeah, it was a planned attack so the government could do what they had to do as far as getting their guns and funding the war in a whole nother country. United States doing what we do best and sticking our nose in other people's business.
For me, it's two different answers to that one question. So the influx of cocaine into America was definitely planned. It was structured. It was for them to try to control Nicaragua and gain a democracy over there. And so they was getting the drugs so they could give them the guns and the money, just transferred to allow all that shit to happen and to take place. The actual crack, for me, I'm a go against how you feel, Rose, and I say again, I think that was Black creatives doing something and trying to make a way to make some money, and so that's what I believe, and so I'm gonna stay with that. So that part was on us. Now the other part that was a planned attack was when they decided to lay the hammer down, and then they made it a Black crisis versus an American crisis versus a pandemic, a drug pandemic that dealt with the whole country. They made it just about a pandemic, a drug pandemic that dealt with Black culture, Black communities. And so that was planned and deliberate in itself to break up homes, to get free labor through prisons and all of that stuff, and to make us seem like we are the savages, we are the thugs, we are the killers, we are the people without morals and sensitivity and all of that stuff, and just out here trying to, pillage through our own communities and our own loved ones in America itself. That was definitely planned. However, as far as, crack specifically, I just think, I don't even, when I say this, it's gonna sound bad, but we made the best out of the situation we was handed. We played the cards that we was dealt, and we found a way to survive, and it plagued our communities and ourselves, and that's the hand that we played into it. But again, I don't think crack specifically was something that they implanted on us. Now, cocaine, yes, most definitely. You can't make crack without coke. So yes, coke was deliberately brought to America for the things. And again, I don't even think that they thought that we would make crack. I think they just thought, coke was going to be coke, and that's what it was going to be. And so they didn't even think that far ahead into the travesties that happened in America afterwards. But so that's my answer.
yeah, well, I think everybody knows exactly. I know for a fact it was just a planned attack in regards to how they approached it. And the only reason why I say that I don't think that we created it is because of just the narrative that was painted behind it. You had three consecutive presidents speak about, clearing it up. They put the, 3 strike rules in effect. A lot of people, stripped from their families, a lot of different things like that. But only reason why it's hard for me to think that they created something out of nothing is because cocaine back in the day in its purest form was very expensive. So I don't know who would be the first person that would buy it and say, I'm about to cook it to get more out of it. I would think that that would be something that they would do just to find out if there is a lesser form that could form on the streets. Because if I'm poor and I finally get my hands on some real cocaine, I'm probably gonna try it like the rest of the people doing because I can afford it. But that, that's just I will never know. But I just don't think that that was nothing that we created because of how strategic it was and how it progressed, and the effectiveness was to the point where you're winning the election for the next 12 years. They were talking about the same exact thing, and the best president that had the best solution to locking up drug users and crack dealers won it. I just don't think that rich people, I don't think poor people spent hard-earned money to get real cocaine just to cook it, to put it in their hood.
You got to remember a lot of the bricks they was getting was on consignment because they was working with the government. So they wasn't paying up front. They wasn't paying up front for them bricks.
Yeah, but correct. But who would get, but before it turned into a thing to where you got your Freeway Rick Rosses and other people that were able to distribute cocaine or have an inside, they got the plug with the government or however, where would it tie in for us? They giving it to us in consignment where you couldn't even get cocaine in the hood, like they were saying, like you couldn't even get it, like white people or the upper echelon people were using this at a high level. So somebody had to have enough bread to party with them, but then have the idea to think, I don't want to use it the way they want to use it. I want to find a lesser form that's a cheaper value that will be in this particular neighborhood. Because I would think the same people that were snorting powder would have been smoking crack first. It wouldn't have been crack all of a sudden is a form that you can get in the inner city where these upper echelon people have just been snorting it. It's kind of like, how do we go from there to this? And this form is available. It's like you got Target over here, but then you got fucking what's the cheap ass store that you can get like great value products that you got the best over here, Whole Foods or whatever, and then you got
Save a Lot,
Dollar Tree, Save a Lot, Piggly Wiggly, whatever you got. So it's like, I don't know how Piggly Wiggly is not going to be lowering their product value just to be being like Piggly Wiggly, you know what I'm saying? Or that, like, I don't think that we would be able to shop here, but then still be talking about let me make this Piggly Wiggly. I think it was playing like that for real.
No, and I respect your opinion and how you feel about it, but I think that one thing that you're not realizing is that cocaine was an American drug, so it was available to all communities. It's just that the white people was able to call it a party drug, and they was able to keep it in its purest form at that time because they had the bread, but coke was still in the hoods and all of this stuff. It's just in the hoods, we couldn't get it off as fast as the rich people, the Wall Streets, the actors, the actresses, the entertainers, and all this other stuff. We couldn't get it off as quick. And so therefore, because we couldn't get it off as quick, we found a way to make something that where we could get it off and get people to be able to afford it. And so, but cocaine was, as soon as it hit from Nicaragua, it was in Las Vegas, it was in LA, it was in the Oak Cliff, it was in Third Ward, like it was available everywhere because they was trying to get it out there, so then therefore they could make their money for the war that they was trying to fund. But it's just, we couldn't get it off. Our cultures and communities couldn't get it off because we were in those socioeconomic environments.
I get that it was everywhere. But my thing is, I don't understand where, if I have people that I know for a fact are buying it, I'm not taking my product down to people that they can be able to afford it when I know for a fact these people are going to pay the asking price. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get that process to where, yeah, we have limited buyers in our neighborhood, but these people buying everything. Maybe it wasn't for our neighborhood. So that's why I'm saying, so if it's just turned into this white people thing or people with money thing, why don't the poor people want it? Because it's too expensive. I don't think that even any drug dealer, no matter the color, I don't want you to spend less money. I want you to keep spending money. If you still chasing that high, if you still gonna want to pay 20, I still want the 20. I don't want the $5. So that's why I don't think that it was our choice to be like, hey, let's try this lesser form to get it to everybody, so we can keep pushing this. That's why. That's my thought. Yeah.
But if you got 2 bricks and I got 2 bricks, it take me 2 months to get my 2 bricks off. It take you 2 weeks to get your 2 bricks off, and because you breaking it down for a cheaper thing and you selling it at $5 a piece, but your 1 brick, let's just say, if I sold my brick, I'll make 10 G's off of it. When you break your brick down the way that you do, you making 40 G's off of it because you broke it down, and you getting yours out in 2 weeks compared to my 2 months. Who really winning?
That's my thing, is that if it wasn't something that was in our neighborhood, I don't think that logic came after we learned of how it could be broke down like that. I don't know who was touching bricks in our community that has came out to say, man, I knew exactly what to do with this. I feel like they picked up the game once it started to be flooded everywhere. That's not our thoughts was, oh man, I got a brick. I still know I can go over here and get this off with these people because this is what they're doing at a high rate. Like, it wasn't in our community because our community wasn't structured to be using crack. It was something implanted to take our focus off of, hey, you guys want to be like these people over here? Hey, this is something that you all could do, because it wasn't for us. That's what I'm saying. I don't think our mindset was to ever distribute drugs within our community. It was their mindset to have us using drugs the way they use drugs, because they're partying. We're just trying to survive over here. That's our whole mindset coming from the times we were in. We wasn't trying to, I don't think that our people was naturally just going to be inclined to be wanting to use drugs. I think that was just something they seen, like Hollywood. Everybody want to be like superstars. That's that type of shit. That wasn't for us. That's where I'm coming from. It's like, I don't think that was ever our thought process, was to be smoking crack or using cocaine. That was just what the rich folks did. That's how I look at it.
But our people wasn't privy to what the rich folks was doing.
It's all right with me. I'm not saying about people was just, hey, wait a minute, it's fine, let's cook some crack. We wasn't even fucking with cocaine. They brought that shit here. We wasn't studying that. Like, that's what I'm looking at. Like, we wasn't drug users. We wasn't drug abusers. They like to do that party and wild folks shit. X and raves and what was it, stockyard or whatever they used to do back in the day, and smoking weed out in fields. We was family, trying to make something right, civil rights movement, keeping our people pushing forward. You see the highlights and flashing of all the rich folks use this. Oh, now it's enticing. Here goes some little something that y'all can afford if y'all want to start doing it. Boom. Then that's where we start. I don't think that was ever our plan. That's where I'm coming from. For us to ever be a part of this epidemic that they put out or planned, it was never our thing. So yeah, I get where you're going from, but I don't think our people naturally was trying to think, okay, let's get crack. They just looked at it like, yeah, them folks up there living, that's what they doing, cool.
But what I'm saying is they didn't know what them folks was doing. The only reason why we know is because they advertised it to us. They didn't have.
We said the same thing, bro.
No, what I'm saying is, you saying they looking up there talking about that's what them folks doing. That's the white folk drug. They partying. They didn't know them folks was partying off of coke. What they know is coke was brought to their community. Somebody said, put this out. When they try to put it out, either some people liked it. If they could afford it, they could afford it. If they couldn't, they was holding on this drug for whatever. We know that the white folks was partying and stuff because we have the access to it now, and because people spoke and talked about things years later on, and talked to the news outlets and all this other stuff and got sources. But our communities back then, they didn't know that. All they know is the CIA agent came with a brick, said, try to get your people to use this. And then either it was coke or it was crack, but they tried to get that off from the CIA agent and make it work. And whatever way that they decided was the way that they chose. But again, it wasn't like they were saying, oh, these are how these people using it, so we're going to emulate them. They didn't know what the white people was doing to emulate. That's what I'm saying.
Well, let's not forget the movie Scarface and what that brought to the hood, and people started noticing that the rich folks that's how they was getting down due to the movie Scarface, and how Scarface came into the hood as a man who came over with no money, broke, however, and then turned to a multi-millionaire. And there was a statement in the documentary even brought about that said that, you know, when we see the movie Scarface and they was snorting cocaine with $100 bills, we were trying to emulate that because that's all the people with money was doing. You know, so let's not forget about that. And I can't remember exactly what year Scarface came out, but it was
No, I'm
it
not
was
forgetting, but also
yeah.
that was years after Coke. Coke was already been here for a minute. Because I'm about to
Yeah,
Google right now
how
long, what year Scarface came out.
you looking it up now?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, we know cocaine had been here and people was partying on it. I think it just amplified it.
3,
What year?
83.
83.
Oh yeah, it was around about the time. Yeah, it was around about the time then, about 83.
Yeah, that's when crack hit though, but not when Coke hit.
Yeah, but
we wasn't
yeah.
using. That's what I'm saying, bro. Like we're saying around the same things. I don't think that our people looked at cocaine was something that was accessible and that was cool for us because our structural background was to push our people forward, not to be drug heads. Now, when you introduce this lifestyle tool, you got Al Pacino. He's not powder. He got all this. Of course, it's accessible. I don't think our number one thought process was, hey, here's crack. Let's try cooking the crack because where would you get that from? They were already using it. They already had their hands on it before we would have heavy accessibility to say we're going to be introducing crack because crack came after cocaine. So they were already playing with it and knowing how to use it different ways. It just happened to hit and stick in the hood. And their rhyme or reason to say it was that it was affordable. I don't think that was ever our goal as people to take on, hey, we about to cook crack and this is how we about to start selling to our people. I just don't think that our mindset was that. I really think that we were on a progressive push people forward. This was a distraction that was playing and it just happened to stick. Just like gang banging. Nobody made us bang these hoods. That came after drugs. That really turned into a big thing. Like 70s, 80s went rapid after niggas started. They went away from the Black Power movement. Bloods, Cribs, GDs, Vice, whatever you are, you protect your neighborhood. Now it turns into a drug war. Now you're banging and protecting these hoods where you used to be protecting it from the outside people. Now you got drugs involved. Now you got money involved. Now you got guns that are everywhere. Now the cities are getting crates randomly dropped. Like it's strategic, bro. I don't think our people ever wanted to be smoking crack. I think it was something that was planted and it stuck because cocaine wasn't enough because it wasn't accessible.
I'm just gonna say the timeline though, because you got to remember Vietnam War. That's when a lot of our people came back hooked on drugs and everything because of the stuff that they went through and all that other stuff. And
it was the heroin movement.
No, it was, but also crack too, and well, not crack, but coke and all that other stuff. They started off with coke, but then they realized that the coke wasn't doing enough, and they moved to heroin to try to use as pain pills and all this other stuff and pain suppressants. But you got to remember that, and that was the 70s. So that was before, even the influx of coke and all of that stuff. So I'm just saying you got to remember the timeline. So I get we was trying to push certain movements and agendas, but we also always had a problem throughout history. Just people in general had a problem with usage of substances.
Right. And I know we gotta go ahead, D-Ro.
Yeah, I follow that. I just don't think that was our intentions, was to be using a lower form of something that they deemed as something that we couldn't access. I just don't feel that. I feel like they purposely did it the same way they purposely set up for it to be right in front of the White House and him to have some cooked up crack in his hand to do to address the United States and let them know that this is a serious issue. No different from Scarface and how they put out colors in 88 or 89 to introduce us to gang banging. It took us from not knowing what's really going out there in Cali to now it's a worldwide thing and everybody on Bloods, Crips, whatever you bang. That's just what it is. It's everything. To me, it's strategic. 83 Scarface, 88, 89 colors. Everybody know about gang banging. That's the stuff we grew up watching. Drugs and gang banging. So,
yeah. One thing, as I know we got to wrap this up, but with this subject and the thing that's recently happened, we got to talk about it for a little bit. The White House and Joe Biden approving a $30 million grant for harm reduction plan. What do you guys, y'all hear about that? Y'all read on it? What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I read up on it. I originally had seen a post. It was, I think it was from like one of them little shade room or something. But the way they put it out, it was just like crack pipes. But when I looked into it, it was saying that they're looking at different ways or safer ways for people to use drugs. Which of course you put it out there, fake news is gonna catch your attention. It caught mine, but I read into it, so I didn't speak on anything in a in an ignorant fashion. Um, my thoughts on it is that um, he played a little part in that little push to have a lot of people incarcerated and push. 30 million is, I mean, that really ain't gonna do too much if you have a real America has a drug problem. It's not any community based. America has a drug problem. I mean, it's cool. I just think that this is just some last ditch effort to just try to find something to pull them through. But 30 million and you want people to safely use drugs. Okay, Biden, but also reverse some of those sentences to some of those people that you pushed very hard for when you was running back in your younger days as super predators and viral criminals and all that type of stuff. How about you look at some of those laws and legislation that you stood behind to get that reversed? You can keep that little 30 million, but you all know that this is a America issue. It's not inner city. It's not Black people. It's not minorities. That would mean more than 30 million to helping people use drugs safely. That's what I got from it.
For me, the idea in itself, I'm not opposed to it because, like they said on the documentary, people gonna use what they want to use. They're gonna find a way to use it or whatever. So a safer way to get to it. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. And making sure people are people are protected. Again, I'm not opposed to it, but to Rose's point, 30 million ain't even gonna cover research fully. So again, it's a PR stunt because again, with 30 million and to find to do the research that you need to be done over the years from and then all the different types of drugs and all this other stuff, you ain't really gonna be able to get enough research, have enough time depending on the years and everything, and enough finances to do what you need to do to implement this in the masses that we need to implement it in to protect people truly from what they need to be protected from. But I am not opposed to people who are users and addicts because substance abuse and addiction is real. And for people who are users and addicts to find a safer way to protect themselves and their loved ones, I'm all for it if it is saving lives.
Yeah, I don't think 30 million enough. I think we all agree on that. I think research has already been done over years and years of time on, what to do, what can help to get it prevented, this, that, and the other. They have done this in other countries before, kind of where they've done this plan already and kind of have people doing drugs in a safer way and it reduce, overdoses and things like that. The main thing they're trying to do is get people from shooting up. If they keep people from using needles and shooting up, that's the main thing they're trying to get away from, to keep people from overdosing and spreading, HIV and spreading other diseases and things of that nature. I'm not mad at it. I am ashamed. Well, I'm not ashamed, but it's crazy how these headlines just hit that. It's all on crack pipes. I was like, man, this is crazy. Like when I first seen it, I was like, yeah, I know for sure this is fake. Let me go ahead and do a little bit more research and see what was going on. But I want to get y'all opinions on that. I know he was a part of, locking people up back in the day. And one thing about that too is people might not agree with this, but it was kind of our community fault also, because we was pushing to get these people up out of here, lock them up, throw away the key. They destroying our community without even realizing what the whole plan was and what was really going on in the background. And nobody questioned it like we question now on how these major guns that ended up in Black communities, like in that situation. Like nobody was really questioning it till after a while, they start questioning, like, hold on, how did cocaine get in our neighborhoods? And why the police letting this ride without saying nothing? And that's when, as a Black community, we started realizing, oh, we've been duped. But before then, it was lock them up, throw away the key. Even the people in our own communities was saying that as well, you know. But from what I seen and what I know is my research, and that's pretty much how it was. Not letting Joe Biden, I'm not letting any of them politicians off the hook. All of them could suck a fat baby dick for all I care. But they did kind of screw us in that whole situation though, and knowing that the government had some behind, especially that boy Reagan and his ugly ass wife.
Yeah, it's all strategic, man. It's all strategic. It's have y'all seen that thing, man? Before we close it out, have y'all seen the video where it was like at a race and the crowd was saying, "Let's go, Brandon"?
I think I seen it a while ago.
But you know what they was really saying in the crowd? Okay. So the people that understand that, they know exactly what I just said. Let's go, Brandon. Like,
I must have missed that.
yeah, so it was like a NASCAR race or some big race. And the crowd was came on and they was like, "Fuck Joe." You know what I'm saying? And so the woman said, "What are they saying?" She was like, "Let's go, Brandon." So yeah, yeah. So that's the little thing, man. Yeah, let's go, Brandon. But nah, man,
That's funny.
it's crazy because you know they early voting is starting down here, and they doing a little pushing. I'm planning on kind of partnering with some people to see exactly of who is being elected down here. And one thing that I've noticed, man, just since we landed on this, is don't be party biased. Make sure that the people that you're actually voting for or looking to vote for have the same core values as you. Because what I've seen a lot of people, and especially us, I can speak for that, and within our communities, it's all about Democratic Party or whatever party that they're just so drawn to. Don't let people pull the wool over your eyes with that, because I've seen some Republicans that may have more of your core values than just blindly voting Democrat because it's what you've been conditioned to or thought. That's just something I would just say be very mindful of, because I've seen some pretty good candidates of what they put out from the independent Democrat and Republic, but I know a lot of people that just blindly vote in whatever party. And I think that's where a lot of times we get into these situations to where you're gonna have to deal with that for 4 years or however long they in that seat. Well, you know, and that can make or break a lot of stuff around you. And it's just, you know, it's important that if if you will vote, if you're gonna vote, know who you're voting for. Because a lot of stuff we talking about, a lot of this stuff could have been avoided. But when you have the right people in your corner and backing you and pushing you, you have 12 years of families being torn apart. And some of those people needed rehab then. That 30 million could have worked back then instead of them being in jail for abusing a drug like Americans do, people do. So that's how I look at that, because they can pander to you how you feel or what's going on in that moment, but don't be a prisoner to the moment, and really just think about the people that's going to be helping you or your community push forward in a real progressive way, not just because they say if you're not black if you don't vote for me.
Yeah, and just to add on to what you said, believe it or not, there's a lot more black Republicans than what you think there are or should be or whatever the case may be. And a lot of them have our best interests. They just align with the financial structure of the Republicans, and that's why they deem themselves Republicans. But they have a lot of the importances and core values that we would have if you call yourself a Democrat or independent or whatever, or just being a black person. Just talk about being black, that you would have as a black person. They have a lot of your core values. It's just they associate with Republicans for 9 times out of 10 financial reasons, and that's about it.
They say, and we ain't got to dive into that, but they say our original party was Republican.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's bad.
So yeah, I mean, that's all I wanted to say about that. Before our Black Business Minute, we got Best Life Organics. You can find them at bestlifeorganics.com. Meet the founder. Shadora Martin is a natural skincare formulator and self-proclaimed ingredient enthusiast. She founded Best Life Organics in 2018 when her journey into motherhood compelled her to make self-care a priority. When she started making her own skincare products at home, she decided that she wanted to share her creations with the world. Partnering with small family-owned growers and producers in the United States and abroad, Shadora handcrafts every product in small batches using organic and wild harvested ingredients. She takes pride in helping others embrace their natural beauty through products that bring out the best in our skin. Clean ingredient skincare, non-toxic, cruelty-free ingredients. It's important to know what you're putting on your skin. Our clean ingredient skincare makes it easy because we use only the highest quality oils, extracts, and aromatics. At Best Life Organics, we keep our ingredient list small and simple to understand, so you don't have to wonder what's in every formula. This approach promotes healthy results for all skin types. Learn more below about our skincare ingredients. So Best Life Organics is our Black Business Minute. You can also find them on Best Life Organics on Instagram. And again, that is BESTLIFEORGANICS. Best Life Organics. Salute.
Salute, salute, salute.
Salute. Our Supreme Black Person of the Week goes to Miss Erin Jackson. She's Olympic speed skating champion. She's the first Black woman to win a gold medal speed skating in the Winter Olympics. She is from Florida. She went to school at the University of Florida. She also, other medals she had is roller sports in the 2015 Pan American Game, women 500 meters, and also speed skating once again in 2022 at the Winter Olympics as the women's 500 meters. So shout out to Erin Jackson for being the first Black woman to win a gold medal when it came to speed skating. And it just recently happened.
Shout out, Queen.
All right, with that being said, for all our queens out there, put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side. Let them know y'all a queen. For all our kings out there, put your crown on, tilt that thing to the side. Let them know you are a king. We are supremely Black, and we out.